Washington, D.C., and I have to say, it didn't fill me with patriotism. I was shocked at the opulence, how politicians were treated like demigods, how the worst tyrant in American history has a shrine of no equal right on the mall. I had the privilege to interview Professor Tom DeLorenzo, who wrote The Real Lincoln. What I'm about to say may seem controversial, because Abraham Lincoln is beloved by both Democrats and Republican politicians. The myth was taught in public school that has transformed Lincoln into being considered America's greatest president. Why do they love him so? Because he destroyed the Republic and gave us a democracy. Politicians know how easy it is to manipulate public opinion. It's very important to keep promoting the mythical Lincoln because he laid the foundation for the out-of-control government we have today. Long before the unconstitutional Patriot Act, Lincoln assumed dictatorial powers without even consulting Congress. He jailed editors of newspapers in the North who opposed the war and sent a congressman into exile to Canada for the same reason. A member of his own Republican Party. Lincoln supported slavery. Just read his first inaugural address. Lincoln supported a constitutional amendment that would have protected slavery in the states that were currently slave states. They didn't teach you that in public school, did you? The primary reason for the Civil War was not to end slavery. Lincoln never even spoke about slavery until the middle of the Civil War. All you have to do is read Horace Greeley's, or Lincoln's letter to Horace Greeley, and you'll know the real reason for the war. What public schools fail to teach is slavery was ended peacefully in virtually every part of the world, including the northern states that were all slave states at one time. In fact, New York was a slave state all the way up until 1853. The primary reason for the war was to force Confederate states back into the Union. Lincoln had no constitutional authority to do it. And history tells us that it was unnecessary to end slavery. The greatest hoax of Civil War history is the so-called Emancipation Proclamation. It freed no one. It protected slavery in the northern states that were still slave states. Because the war had not been won, the proclamation didn't free a single slave in the South. New evidence indicates that over 800,000 Americans died in the Civil War, not the 600,000 as previously thought. At the time when the population was a fraction of what it is today, none of those deaths were necessary to end slavery. The South took over 100 years to recover economically from the devastation of the Civil War. Real history changes the way you look at government. That's precisely why the government wants you to believe the version they approve. I've identified one of the primary causes for the deeply rooted problems we face today. A nation that has deteriorated into a democracy, where politicians claim a mandate to do virtually anything they want with the excuse that it's the will of the people. Some might say we need to get more involved in the political process. To get the right people elected, that will solve the problem. That's not the solution. Because the political process is just as broken as the government. Let me give you an example. In 1996, during the Texas Republican State Convention, a brilliant former state parliamentarian named Robert X. Johnson from the floor of the convention began to get a majority of the delegates to enact badly needed reforms in the party rules. That would have forced Republican politicians to be accountable to the platform, which they still are not to this day. It would have imposed term limits on every Republican office holder in the state of Texas. It was modeled after the old Whig Party's rotation rule. Abraham Lincoln only served one term as a congressman because of that rule. It would have caused a revolution restoring the political process. The establishment was so frightened by the effort, they illegally shut down the entire state convention. They stopped delegates from exercising their First Amendment rights. The establishment Republicans got away with it, and they began to use the tactic over and over again. And later in 2008, and recently in 2012, state conventions across the country were illegally shut down because the delegates had the audacity to vote contrary to the wishes of the establishment. I urge you to watch the YouTube video produced by Ben Swan titled "In Partisanship." That shows the exactly how the Republican delegates were disfranchised in the 2012 primary. Both major political parties are controlled by people who will not allow a fair process. In a Republican form of government, people have a right to try to win. They don't have a right to win. That's the psychological problem we have. We have people that believe they're entitled to win and will use any means to do that. A political party is the expression of the First Amendment's a right of assembly and to address grievances. When that process is interfered with, it's a direct violation of the First Amendment. The major parties get away with this because they claim they are a private organization and can make or break their own rules. Then, if that's the case, why do both parties get millions of tax dollars to fund their primaries? They can't have it both ways, be private and funded by taxpayers, who are in turn denied the right to participate within the party. I'm convinced the federal government will at some point in the near future collapse under its own weight. That's why I focus on Texas and what will happen after the fall. We need an honest political process in Texas. We don't have it. The tactic of disfranchising primary voters started in Texas, and it needs to be fixed if we're ever going to have a Republic of Texas. On last week's show, I interviewed Chad Peace. He's the legal strategist for InPartisanship.org. They are working to end the two-party mafia. With the help of a number of organizations, they are trying to take away taxpayer money that subsidizes their primaries. That money is used to keep third parties off the ballot and eliminate competition. It must stop. I urge people to check out InPartisanship.org. It's been an honor to talk to you. My show, Pursuit of Freedom, airs Wednesdays at 11 a.m. on naturalnewsradio.com. My show website is pursuitfreedomshow.com. And I want to leave you with some words from Samuel Adams. It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather a tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. Let's go start some brush fires of freedom.
Thank you, Phil. We really appreciate you being here today. And now our next speaker is Jack Blood, who drove all the way from Georgia to be with us today. He's very dynamic. I appreciate him being here. He brought his family with him. And he's our next speaker.
It's good to see y'all again. Minutes since we've talked. That's right, we came down from Georgia, and I'm pretty honored to be here. This is the first time ever that the president has invited me to speak and to do something. So to the president, the first lady also happens to be your congressman, the Jonarchies. Let's give it up for them. Everyone in the Republic of Texas. So I'll come back here now if this happens. They ran me out, the rents were too damn high in Austin, and it was getting worse. I thought they couldn't do worse than Lloyd Doggett, but they did. I don't know how they did that. How do they find people worse than Lloyd Doggett? What's he doing now? He should be in the zoo, as we used to say, in a song I once wrote. But yeah, it's really cool to be here, and we're doing a lot of things in Atlanta, Georgia, that South Austin says they're doing, but they never do. Because of the bureaucracy, because of the political angles in Austin, Texas. In East Atlanta, we don't have that, as I was just telling the fellow. Even the liberals in East Atlanta have it on. A lot of the people in Austin that call themselves conservatives, that's how it works. And what do? Well, we don't allow Walmarts, we don't allow box stores, we don't allow 7-Elevens. They can't move in, there are no McDonald's. I'm sorry, kids, you're going to have to get a proprietary mom-and-pop hamburger and fries. You're going to have to live with a handmade milkshake without MSG, without aspartame, without fluoride, without chemicals. And that's the good life. There's farmers markets every day of the week. Not that we don't have that here in Texas, but so there are good things happening in this country. Now, I got to speak here for the president and the people of Republic of Texas. But it's not my first rodeo. I actually got a letter from Barack Obama here a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if I went to a website and ended up on a list. That's the wrong kind of list. And he said, Dear Jack Blood, thank you for all the help in helping my agenda succeed. And I'm looking at that going, man, I've been trying to take you down for 6 years and you're thanking me, so we're all on the same page, aren't we? And I'm an equal opportunity muckraker. I spent all 8 years of the Bush presidency going after him, too. And what are we going to get in 2016? I'm a predictor of elections. I'm about 100% in the last 3 elections. We're going to get Bush versus Clinton. Yeah, that's change you can believe in right there. That's some hopium. That's what that is. It's addictive and degenerative. So I also want to welcome our internet audience. You're looking around saying, okay, we could have had some more people there, but thanks to Ron Neighbor and everybody who's watching this on the internet. It's recorded for posterity. I looked at the numbers. It was in the millions. Well, the hundreds, but it's not the numbers that count. In fact, we're talking about the Republic of Texas. My father-in-law, just about a week ago, I said, what are you doing? You're going down to Texas. What are you going to do down there? I said, I'm going to speak for the Republic of Texas. Well, what is the Republic of Texas? It's its own country. We kind of like the sound of that, and he said, well, they know it's not going to happen, right? And I said, no, they don't, because they said the same thing. We'll never beat the redcoats, we'll never have our own country, they're going to take over everything and tax our T and tax our me and tax thee, tax this, tax that, and hold you at the point of ability to do so. And, so I guess we should just give it up. Hello, welcome to America. That doesn't sound good. Press 1 for English. Hello. So we can happen. And I think, what it's going to look like. I did a little work a couple of years ago. We thought Ron Paul might, win an election. That's how you find out the hard way. All the elections are fixed at the primary stage. What happened in 2012? Ron Paul. Some of you like, let's do it. Anybody like Ron Paul? All right. I'm not talking about Rand Paul. I'm talking about Ron Paul. No, just kidding. He won Iowa. And And they gave it to, we call him Frothy Rick Santorum, because he's just frothing all the time at the mouth. And later they said, oh, well, Ron Paul did win that primary, that caucus in Iowa. And if he had won that, of course, the momentum would have carried him into New Hampshire and South Carolina. We'd be talking to President Paul right now. Be a little bit of a different country. I don't know. Do we need a Republic of Texas with Ron Paul as president? I say, hell yes, we do. And I think Ron Paul would agree with that. Most of you know how those elections are fixed. I think one of the things I said to my overly optimistic friends was when Ron Paul's going to win this election, 2008. I said, they'll kill us all first. And I'm not joking. They will make sure that doesn't happen. And maybe he'd actually been a president, like John Jarnarchy. Maybe. Because Obama's not a president. He's a puppet. We like to blame him. He's a good lightning rod. He sells soap. I have no idea if John McCain would have won the election. And by the way, we were in the primaries. I remember we were in El Paso for the primary. And just the mention of his name caused people to laugh. How did he win that primary? We wouldn't have been able to go to war in Libya, we wouldn't have been able to go to war in Syria, we wouldn't have been able to go to war in Africa, we wouldn't have been able to keep the wars going. Yet they're still going, by the way, in Afghanistan and Iraq. And that's what the useful tool soap salesman, Cousin Barry Obama does. Why do I call him Cousin Barry Obama? People say, Jack, that is racist. No, he is cousins with Bush, cousins with Dick Cheney, and cousins with Sarah Palin. Sorry to break it to you, maybe they're a distant cousin. They get on the TV and say, Dick Cheney, is it true Obama's your cousin? He said, yeah, it's true. He's the black sheep of the family. Obama's mama, she worked in the CIA, but that's good training. So he's a puppet. The real power, as most of us know, doesn't even come from Wall Street. Let's tell the occupied people, it comes from a global international center. All more the reason that we need a Republic of Texas. Now, if Davy Crockett and Bowie and all the great men that fought and died at the Alamo knew that this was what they were going to get, how many of you think they would have just went, forget it? But everything that Texans fought for to get us there will be all given away to the federal government, who gives it all away to the international government. This is an international government. They don't tell you about it. So, how do I know that? In 2004, the EU had its 50th anniversary. Wait a minute, the numbers don't add up. We didn't hear about it until 1987. How does that work? Because they don't tell you that the European Economic Community, like NAFTA, really is regional government. So France is still France, kind of. We're the United States, kind of. But in reality, we're the North American Union. In fact, beyond the North American Union, Dave Rockefeller's bucket list last dying wish is to take the entire continent, the entire hemisphere, name it after him, the Rockefeller Union, but that probably wouldn't go. So that they call it the American Union, the AU. They'll split the regional governments and they'll get them to fight each other until we can't have any more wars. Remember the war that ended all wars? That didn't happen. It was the perfect excuse to have the GU, the global union. Some people call that the New World Order. So why is that important? Because we as a people have to stand and potentially die on our feet rather than die on our knees. And I always thought that Texas can go where no one else can go, that Texas can set the parameters, that Texas can be the prototype, that Texas can lead the way for the rest of the country. Would it really be so bad for this country to be 50 different countries? I say no. It was called a lively experiment, this experiment we have here as a republic. We can keep it. It failed. So what choice do we have to protect ourselves? Well, Jack, I really love it. My friend Jimmy Gardner is here, who is a great American and a great Texan, and he was on the front lines fighting that Trans-Texas corridor. And I got to tell you, you still see these toll roads, but they're empty. Nobody uses them. Some of them don't even go anywhere. How did that thing stop in its tracks? Jimmy Gardner and all the people, thousands of people that went down and fought the war of attrition and kept on fighting until they killed the entire project. TxDOT couldn't keep up, their lawyers couldn't keep up. The Bank of Spain, Sintra, they bought the roads that we were going to lease back. They couldn't keep up. They were buying all the little newspapers all anywhere this thing was going in Texas, putting out their propaganda, how great the toll roads would be, how wonderful the Trans-Texas Corridor, or NAFTA corridors, it was called, would be. They lost to a few thousand people. No, I mean, that is a change I can believe in. So, here in Texas, we had No Child Left Behind come in. It's the New Freedom Initiative. This is pretty cool. You guys look like this. They test your children in the school, and they find that your child is mentally defective, so they have to drug your child in order to keep him compliant and to get through the education system, because he might become bored, and I don't know, want to stretch his legs, or go run and be wild. Wildest colts make the best horses. So, y'all know that. Thank you. So we beat them on that. That was the New Freedom Initiative. Why do they always name this stuff Freedom and Patriot and Liberty? Man, go run when you see a bill called the Freedom Bill or the Liberty Bill. Yeah, it ain't working. So we beat them on that. So then Rick Perry got the idea, and keep in mind, Eli Lilly's behind all of this, and they're in the pockets of the Bushes and the Perrys, and that's just the truth. You can find it. So we thought, we'll dump out all our little girls and let's vaccinate them with Gardasil. It doesn't matter that the studies show that this could, create abnormal effects. Maybe it's only 2 in 100. So 98 of the girls won't die or won't have adverse effects to Gardasil. We got to do it, and we do. Later, he said in the presidential debates, he was saying, what was I saying? Oops. That was a proud moment for Texas right there, wasn't it? And you paid for it. Well, we all did pay for his campaign run wherever he went, then he supported somebody else, but they said there was an opt-out in the Gardasil. They never told us that. That was never part of the debate, but we killed it, we won. You know why there's no DUI checkpoints in Texas? Because the Supreme Court ruled that it's unconstitutional, something we pushed for here. Now, some would say, we better not have people driving drunk. So, I don't know, I drink 1 beer, I don't feel drunk, but I'm not legal to drive, and that's a whole other issue. Something, again, our ancestors in Texas would absolutely vomit their eyeballs out, excuse the expression. What, I can't carry a loaded gun in my car, and I can't drink? I mean, what the hell is this? Yeah. So, look, the bottom line is we can't sit and do nothing. The bottom line is that Rick Perry should probably be, the bottom line is that he probably will be in jail at some point. And that Texas has succeeded in spite of its poor leadership, which gives huge bonuses and tax rebates and tax-exempt status and land to corporations like Dell and Apple. They got a new Grand Prix racetrack up there in Austin, Texas. Isn't that lovely? Where I'm at in Atlanta, Georgia, we're buying 2 super stadiums right now. One's $1 billion, the other one is $300 million, and that's just to get started. I guess we don't need things. I guess it's all for the poor. I love how they take money out of our checks every month and garnish our wages to pay extortion and protection money for people that can't even protect us. I lived in Providence, Rhode Island for a while. Don't call me a Yankee because I grew up in the Wild West. But I did live up there and I did some work, some really good work, I feel. So we ran up against the Patriot Act, we ran up against, the traditionalists, and we ran up against the people that said, well, we need this, we need that, we got to take care of the poor. Well, let's take care of the poor. Who here doesn't want to help the poor, right? I can do that on my own. I don't need you to charge me all along the way for every bureaucrat that's in the office through nepotism, most likely. he all gets paid, he gets paid, the chunk goes here, the chunk goes there, and by the time we get to the poor, there ain't nothing left. But we can build a new stadium and a new racetrack and give Apple a sweetheart deal, because there's jobs there, right? We don't help the poor, we help the rich. They take money from us. I'm looking, I see a few people, maybe you're a millionaire, you're a billionaire.
I'm a millionaire.
In theory, why are they taking money from the poor to help the poor? Can anybody figure that one out? Why are we borrowing money from China so that they can fund their slave factories and sell us stuff that breaks down in a week that we got to buy again the next week? Why are we spending billions of dollars on unbelievable, $1 trillion a year, before we even start, folks, $1 trillion a year to pay the interest on the debt, on the funny money, $1 trillion a year to protect the interest, as Smedley Butler said, folks. I mean, we all love our troops, we support them, we don't want to waste them. Smedley Butler was the Marine general that wrote The Trees War is a Racket. All that time he went out, he found out he was fighting for the Rockefellers, and he was more than a corporate security guard, and that's a waste of a life. That's a waste of money. It's a degradation of everything this country stands for. So what do? Well, we become our own country. The Republic of Texas, you can just see it now. There's no property taxes. You get to own your property here. Yeah, we'll have our own militia. We really don't need a military. No drones in our skies. It'll be a no-fly zone. In fact, I know when David Simpson put through his great bill that, and I couldn't believe this when I was speaking at the Texas Capitol a few years ago, that we have to beg Rick Perry, to not drove our women and children to the airport. I mean, is it come to that? Please don't throw my wife and my child from the airport. Take naked pictures of them, because some of these TSA guys, I'm not saying with kids in here, but look it up, they're not all real good guys. Sorry to break that to you. Minimum wage workers, some of them have absolutely no qualifications. That's why when the guy was shooting into LAX here about 6 months ago, he walked right for the security and shot people for 20 minutes before they did anything about it. So what happened was, let me just digress. You guys listen to my radio show? This is what it is. Digressions and non sequiturs for 2 hours. So that means. But I always remember where I started off, so that's how I work it. Where was I again? No, so David Simpson puts the bill through. All of Texas Congress signs the bill. It's not that, we're not looking for bombs or box cutters, if you believe that fairy tale. This thing about women and children. It may not be either, because I don't like the way you're looking at me there, Joe, TSA. And John Napolitano in the federal government at the Homeland Security, as we call it, the Department of Homeland Security, they're like good Nazis. He said the no-fly zone. He literally said no planes will fly in and out of Texas if this bill gets signed and passed. That's it. So really, I think I'm actually insulting Caligula comparing to our current leaders. Maybe Nero would be a better example. Or, I don't know. I would say Hitler, but we all know he was funded by the Bushes and the heroines. So, Wall Street. Look away. It's true. They actually got punished trading with the enemy, funding Nazi Germany. Another little tidbit people should probably know. So we could be here in the Republic of Texas and say, no, you're not flying your jets, you're not flying your drones, you're not driving our children in the airport, and you're not taxing our property, and you're not pulling us over for thought crimes, and we get to have guns in Georgia. There's a place called Kennesaw, Georgia. It's actually a law that if there's a man in the house, he has to have a gun. Now that'll drive some people crazy. Why do you own guns, Jack? What are you going to do with that gun? Well, I'm going to protect myself, because at some point, they're going to turn off the food and the water. That'll never happen. That's the people of New Orleans. Did it happen to them? Like that. No food, no water, no conveniences. And anyone that didn't have a gun was in big trouble. They were, because there were people going from house to house. You have to be able to protect yourself, because there is no such thing as security. Security is just another word for control. Go ahead, check your social control control number. What do they make you use that for today? It's the Office of Homeland Control. It's very expensive. And I'm sorry that Obama expanded the government to create this massive bureaucracy known as the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, that's Bush. Yeah. You know, I'll tell you a little story. During the Clinton administration, they had already designed the Department of Homeland Security. They already had the Patriot Act written. You know, they have the E-Patriot Act written in case there was an Internet Pearl Harbor. They've already got that written. Yeah, so in the Clinton years, they were going to put through Homeland Security, and it was the Bushes and the Ashcrofts and all those guys that said, no, we won't stand for it. It's too big a government. It's too big of a bloated bureaucracy. People want their freedom. Then we had 9/11, and that's the excuse for everything. We didn't have 9/11 in Texas. It happened in New York, and when I watched Building 7 fall that day, well, I'll just quote Dan Rather on the news. That looks like a controlled demolition. Really, it just fell right down. Anyone heard of Building 7? I know. A lot of people haven't. Everything changed that day. Every dream that a Project for New American Century signee or AIPAC or JITSA lobby, everything they ever wanted, they got. That was Christmas for the neocons. And we paid for it in Texas. So that's what Texas looks like. That's just a little piece of what it looks like. We actually help the poor. You know, in Seattle, where I grew up, as I said, it's the Wild West out there. They're very libertarian. They just put through a law at City Council for a $15 an hour minimum wage. Another way of extorting the businessmen. And some people say, well, hey, you can't live off of the $8, $9 an hour. You can't live off of the $15 an hour either, especially when half of it goes to the local and state and federal taxes. I just say get rid of the taxes, and then you don't have to double the minimum wage. People make twice as much. Independence is really, truly the most important and most beautiful and dire form of dissent. It's disappearing in this country. It's disappearing by the second. I'm not one to complain. I love this. I was born here. I love this country. I love this country as much as anything else, as much as anyone else. I criticize it because I love it. I criticized Texas for 8 years that I lived here because I love Texas, because I love Texans, because they deserve better. The U.S. de facto government, Big U, have broken every treaty and every agreement and every promise that they had ever given to Texas as well as anyone else. I'm sorry, that's the truth. That agreement to annex this state and make it part of the collective, the so-called union, was built on deception and lies, null and void, in my humble opinion. So I'm sure some of you Republican Texas people know that, not that I want to go to the UN for much, not that I really want there to be the international, I guess you need something, but go look at the documents. And you guys heard this, right? That Texas was never actually annexed. It was like the 16th Amendment, it was falsified, it was not ratified, it was not legally annexed. You don't need to see, people will say, well, Jericho, this is very dangerous, this is talk of secession. No, you don't even need it, it's in the paperwork. Now we need a team of lawyers to finish the job. And then we need to convince the people of Texas that they'd be better off in their own country. A country that can be allies with the United States and allies with anyone that deserves it. A country that doesn't ship money all around the world to people who can't look out for themselves and become dependent on the purse strings of American taxpayers, which, by the way, don't include Wall Street and the businesses. Yeah, that's right. Oh, the 1%, the 1%, the 1%. We must do something. Tax the 1%. I'm here to tell you, and I hate to break it to you, they don't pay taxes. I'm talking about the 1% of the 1%, okay? They don't have to pay taxes. But you can't tax them. is no justice. There is no justice system. There is no legality in taxes. In fact, if you talk to little Harry Reid or you talk to anyone on any side of the aisle, you say, where is the law? I have to pay federal taxes. Sorry, I get started on taxes. I can't shut up. They'll say, I don't know. Go find it. People like Sherry Peel Jackson and Joe Bannister worked at the IRS. There was a reward of, what was it, Jimmy, $50,000? What was the reward for? $100,000, I think it was. Right? By Bob Schultz and the leading people. And they said, we'll give you $100,000 if you can show us the law. And Sherry Peel Jackson and Joe Bannister were like, I can get that $100,000. They wanted to make that money, and guess what? They couldn't find the law. It's a code, it's codified, but it's not law, and certainly not constitutional. But the funny part is you ask Harry Reid, you can see videos by Jan Nelson, I think his name is, and he asks these guys, and they say taxes are voluntary. Did you know that? Taxes are voluntary. Now, if you don't pay them, they'll shoot you. That's your choice. In California, they're paid 60%. 60% of the year they're working for somebody else, and they don't get the money. So again, all that ends with the Republic of Texas. That's just it. So I just sort of really convince these people that the 15th largest economy in the world, Texas, would be better off not carrying the bricks in their bag known as the United States of America. Well, I supported everything. I live in South Austin, and I supported every tax. I voted for every bill, every minute, everything, every bump issue that came up, I voted yes. I wanted to give everything to everybody. I'm a good person. And I want everybody to be happy. And people, and they get gifts and toys and a little bit of a free ride, a little help here, they're happy. I don't know if y'all have been to the welfare department. I have nothing against it. People need help. But they're not happy. I'm here to tell you. And they're not even grateful. So the South Austin liberal, I don't even believe in these tags, but I got to communicate with y'all somehow. So the South Austin liberals pay everything. And now their property taxes went up to such an extent that they can't even live there. They run off their land. I voted for everything. I was here to help the people. And now I can't even afford to live in the place I live that I set my roots in. Something's wrong with this picture. Not going to happen of the Republic of Texas. I won't keep you too much longer. So what if people would be held accountable? Mr. President Anarchy, I'm sorry, if you go astray and you become a thief, a liar, and a murderer, we're going to impeach you, and sorry, we might have to hang you. I mean, you know, he said, oh, yeah. I don't know, do I want this job? Yeah, accountability. The fascists aren't accountable. The liars aren't accountable. The creeps at UNESCO and the United Nations and the WHO, the WTO and the OO, they're not accountable. They don't have to be accountable. They're above the law. Not in the Republic of Texas. Everybody is accountable. I just had some friends move to Costa Rica and they said, Jack, this is amazing. Oh, very well off. Did very good. In fact, this guy, his name's Kurt Haskell, was on the plane of the underwear bomber. Okay? He was a witness. What did he see? Let me divert for a second from Costa Rica. You know what he saw? Some guy put him on the plane on the other side of the pond. He got no passport, had no nothing. Didn't go through security. Some guy, all they can call him is a sharp-dressed man, nice suit on. He went up to the counter and said, this guy doesn't have a passport. I'm vouching for him. Put him on the plane. Now, how many of you think that would work? Go up to the airport. I don't have a, but this guy here, he's dressed very nicely. He said, okay, can I get on the plane? And he had an alleged. You get to drink. When I say allegedly or alleged, it's the Jack Flip drinking game, just in case you're playing along. Soda pop, please. Water. Well, this country was built on whiskey and hemp. Let's hear it. President something. Hemp's illegal now. Mostly whiskey is too. Yeah, and what did Kurt Haskell find out when he started investigating it, that the whole thing was like a false flag operation, Gladio. This kid was drugged out, we didn't know what he was doing. Somebody, talked him into putting something in his underwear and trying to light it, and it was never going to go off. You were never in danger. So Kurt Haskell finally got sick of all this BS over here, and he moves to Costa Rica, and he starts saying, Jack, this is a beautiful place, man. People are accountable for themselves. There isn't speeding laws and smoking laws and drinking laws and breathing laws and living laws, and people have to be accountable for themselves. That's why when I see that drunk crashes into something and damages somebody's life, liberty, or property, I say, Philip, look at it. Make an example out of that person. Don't punish me because I haven't done anything yet. But I know we live in this world of thought crimes and pre-crimes, and I'm sure somebody is psychic telling the police right now, that Jack Blood, he's going to commit a crime in a couple of years. We better lock him up. The Obama administration is letting people go to jails because they need room for them. There's a lot of them. There's a tragedy, as you guys know on your board, a human rights tragedy, and there's not enough housing for all the people coming to this country to live this American dream that so many of us have taken for granted. And so they got to build even more Halliburton detention facilities. What's going to happen when these people are all assimilated into our culture and those things are empty? They're going to have to put them to work somehow. I guess it's the dissenters. I guess it's the people that question authority. That's probably where they're going to be. 3 hots in a cot, and they'll probably still make you pay taxes. And so Halliburton camps. All right, I'm going to end on this. First of all, I'm on the local radio stations here. If y'all live in Fredericksburg, listen, I'm on 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, Monday through Friday, live. We, I think, bring on some of the most interesting people in the world. We have regular guests of all shapes, sizes, colors, ages, political proclivities. You name it, they're on our show, and we can work together. This is something that I called here recently Occupy. Oh, what a nightmare that would be for the establishment, because they have to divide and rule. Hobby Lobby doesn't want to give their workers contraception. It's a war on women, I'm telling you. Right in time for midterm elections. War on the elderly. It's a war on minorities. It's a war on our children. It's for the children. It's for the children. It takes a village. As long as that village is Jack Blood and Tony Blood, it does say a village to raise a child. My 11-year-old, he's like, I'm with me.
Come on up.
5, we call him Spider. He's been on the front of the revolution since he was a tiny baby. No,